Okay, so let's relate cellular respiration now to animals and their activity and size and so on, and see how that relates. And so up here we had just finished up talking about how cellular respiration can be regulated by inhibiting enzymes or stimulating them, activating the enzymes. And remember, this was a review about inhibiting or activating the enzyme in one of the very first reactions here in glycolysis. All right, so let's look at how these energy requirements are related to an animal's size, their activity, and the environment. So this word called bioenergetics is the overall flow and transformation of energy in an animal. So energy, energetics, bio is in living things. So it determines how much food an animal needs, and it relates it to an animal's size, it's how active it is, their environment, and so on. So let's quantify energy use. So the metabolic rate is the amount of energy an animal uses in a unit of time. So how much energy per second or per minute or whatever it is. Metabolic rate can be determined by an animal's heat loss, the amount of oxygen consumed, or the carbon dioxide produced. Oxygen consumed, carbon dioxide produced. So the metabolic rate is really what we're doing is looking at the rate of cellular respiration. Because remember, cellular respiration, let's look at that, is C6H12O6 plus 6O2 gives you 6CO2. A little crazy there, and 6H2O plus energy to make ATP. Okay, so remember this energy to make ATP, some of that energy goes to making ATP, but some of that energy is released as heat because this is an exergonic reaction. So a lot of energy is released as heat and some of the energy goes to make ATP. So when we say we can measure for metabolic rate, it can be determined by an animal's heat loss. So we can measure in some way how much heat it's losing or measure how much O2 is consumed. So because O2 is a reactant in cellular respiration, or we can look at how much CO2 is produced as a result of cellular respiration as well. All right, so those are ways to measure the metabolic rate or the rate of cellular respiration. So how does this metabolic rate correlate with size? So metabolic rate is proportional to body mass to the power of 3/4, and it's m to the 3/4 power. All right, so you put your mass and then to the 3/4 power. So let's turn this over here and look at a couple of graphs here. So let's look at what these graphs are telling us. So graph A here, it says relationship of basal metabolic rate. So basal metabolic rate, or BMR. What that means is that is resting. So what is your metabolic rate? Like, for instance, like when you first get up, when you first wake up in your bed in the morning, you are rested, you're not using a lot of energy, you're slowed down. That would be like your basal metabolic rate. So your resting metabolic rate. And so you're going to look at that compared to, it says the relationship of that BMR, that basal metabolic rate, to body size for various animals. All right, so if we look here, here's your body mass. So how much mass is the body made up of? And it's kilograms, and so which is 1,000 grams. And so increasing body mass. And then here is the basal metabolic rate. And look at here, it's measured in liters of oxygen per hour. So rate, remember, is how much in this case, cellular respiration is going on in an hour time. And remember, so in this case here, they chose to measure the amount of oxygen consumed. So that's how they're measuring the rate of cellular respiration, is measuring how much oxygen you consume, and the more oxygen you consume, the more cellular respiration is going on. And so so you can see that as the body mass goes up, what is that relationship? The BMR, the basal metabolic rate, goes up as well. And hopefully you would be able to tell me that, look at this, this is the elephant. So the elephant would use up more oxygen and therefore go through more cells, have a higher metabolic rate than a small animal like the harvest mouse, okay? And so therefore, there's that relationship that way, where one increases, so does the other, okay? Let's look at this second graph, or actually let's write something about this graph here first. So what this graph is telling us is the bigger the animal, equals more O2 taken in per time period, which is going to give you a higher metabolic rate. And I'm going to put here in parentheses CR for cellular respiration. Okay. So now let's look at the second graph, graph B. It says the relationship of BMR per kilogram of body mass to body size. So relationship of BMR per kilogram of body mass to body size. So this was just the BMR to body size. So what's the difference here? Per kilogram of body mass. So what does that mean? It means that if you were to take a kilogram, 1 kilogram of mass from a mouse, and compare it to the same quantity, 1 kilogram mass of an elephant, and compare equal sizes, so equal body masses, what's going to happen? So per kilogram of body mass. So here's your body mass, all right? And here's the BMR. So now if we compare kilogram to kilogram, so it's the same amount of tissue, let's say, now look at what happens. The shrew, that kilogram from a shrew goes through cellular respiration and therefore has a higher metabolic rate, way higher than that of an elephant, gram for gram. All right? And so overall, because the elephant just has more mass, it has more grams, overall it is going to consume more oxygen. That's what this is saying here. But if you look at gram for gram, equal to equal, the smaller animal has a much higher metabolic rate than the larger animal, gram for gram. All right? And so that's what that's telling you here. So let's write underneath here. So what is this telling us? The bigger the body mass of the animal, equals less O2 consumed per kilogram of body tissue. So the metabolic rate is slower. So let's see if we can fill these things out here. So larger animals have blank body mass. Large animals have more or less body mass than smaller animals. Hopefully you can say more. They have more body mass. And therefore require, overall, more or less chemical energy. More chemical energy. And that's because they just have more grams or more body mass. And so that's what graph A is showing you here. All right? So it goes up according to body mass. Smaller animals have higher metabolic rates per gram than larger animals. That's what graph B is showing you. All right? And so graph B, gram for gram, smaller animals have the higher metabolic rate. All right? And so then let's look at the third bullet here. So the higher metabolic rate of smaller animals leads to a blank oxygen delivery rate. So for smaller animals, do you think it's a higher or lower oxygen delivery rate, a higher or lower breathing rate, heart rate, greater blood volume compared with a larger animal? And it's going to be a higher. So think about that. If small animals are per hour here, they're doing more respiration, they're going to need more oxygen delivered to their little bodies and so on. So therefore, what helps to deliver oxygen? All right, so the breathing rate. So then they're going to take in more oxygen. The heart pumps the blood around the body, and the blood is what's taking the oxygen to all the cells of the body, and so on. And so therefore, they have a smaller animal. If you've ever felt like the pulse of a smaller animal, their heart rate is much, much faster than ours. And that's because of gram for gram, they have a higher metabolic rate. So each gram of a mouse, for instance, requires about 20 times as many calories as a gram of an elephant, even though the whole elephant overall uses far more calories than the whole mouse. And so, and that's because the elephant just has way more grams, all right, because it just has way more tissue, all right, but gram for gram, all right? So moving on here, so energy allocation and use. And so both organisms are getting their energy to do cellular respiration and have a high metabolic rate, like in terms of the mouse, by eating. So energy allocation and use here. Let's look at this. Animals harvest chemical energy from food. Energy-containing molecules from food are usually used to make ATP. So this is just a quick little review, which powers cellular work. And so after the needs of staying alive are met, remaining food molecules can be used in biosynthesis. So this is just adding a new little thing here about the food that we eat not only goes into go into cellular respiration to give us energy, but also can be used to build things and used in our body in other ways. So biosynthesis includes body growth. This is how we grow. Repair, synthesis of storage materials like fat. We just talked about that, and how fat can be stored. And so that's also how we grow. So I wanted to show you that not everything is used in cellular respiration to make ATP. Some molecules are used to actually grow and make more cells when cells divide and so on and so forth and grow. So the mass that we eat becomes part of the mass of our bodies as we grow and develop. All right, and so let's look at this picture here. And so here are your organic molecules in food. And let's look at this, what you're looking at here. Here's the external environment. This box is the animal body, all right? So this is the body. So this would be like your mouth, all right? So digestion, you're going to digest and absorb your food into your bloodstream. Digestion and absorption, breaking down the food and so on, will release some energy, and some of that energy is released as heat, so that dissipates into the environment. When it's absorbed into your bloodstream, so it goes, I'm going to put here blood, it's going into your blood, goes to your body cells. So then it goes into your body cells. This direction, I want to point out here, this is not going from blood to energy lost in feces. So there's this pathway, all right? So things that are absorbed go to your blood and then to the body cells. Let's do this pathway. This is not absorbed. And that's so not everything that we eat we can actually digest. And so what we don't digest goes right through our body, and we lose it in our solid waste, our feces. So not all of the energy here that we eat is going to end up with energy going to your body cells, because some of that is undigested, all right? And so that's the energy lost in feces. So then nutrient molecules in the body cells. So then what do they do in the body cells? So let's look at here, let's color code I haven't been doing that in this video here. So let's color code. The nutrients in the body cells can go here and be used right away for cellular respiration. So let's just look at that. And so the body cells use it for cellular respiration. Cellular respiration makes ATP, right? And ATP can be used to do cellular work. Okay, so there's that whole process here. Remember, cellular respiration, not all of the energy goes to ATP. Some can be lost as heat, so we have some energy lost there. All right, so then going back up here to the nutrients in the body cells, some of these aren't used directly for cellular respiration. Some are used to build. So this part right here, it says to carbon skeletons. This direction here is the biosynthesis part, where we use it to make other molecules, all right? So, and that's how we grow. So this is the pathway here, and you can see here it goes right to biosynthesis. So this right here is the biosynthesis pathway. We're building other molecules. Now sometimes in biosynthesis, look at here, ATP comes over here. So ATP is actually used in biosynthesis because when we're making molecules, ATP is often needed for energy. So some of that energy is used to actually make molecules. And in addition to doing cellular work. And then the molecules in biosynthesis, that process can release heat as well. So we have heat being lost. Biosynthesis, the molecules can be used as nutrients in body cells because, for instance, like if you eat starch from a plant, you can digest it into glucose. It goes into your body cells. Some of it can be used for cellular respiration. Some of it can be hooked together to make glycogen in your liver and muscle cells. So that's the biosynthesis. But then you can break it down into glucose again. So it's a nutrient that can be used for cellular respiration. And so that's how that loop works there. And the last thing here is that when your body cells break down some molecules, and so when molecules are used in the body cells, you can the cells dump waste back into your bloodstream, and your kidneys actually filter it out and get rid of it as nitrogenous waste, and this is your urine. All right, so this is gotten rid of in your urine. So therefore, all the energy in your food doesn't go towards making ATP. Some of it is released as heat. Some of it's excreted out of our body through our urine and our feces. And then some of it is actually used to grow and repair and all of that kind of stuff with biosynthesis. Okay? And that's where I'm going to end the video.